We're now going to cover creating a drawer box or setting up a drawer box for undermount drawer slides. And we need to be able to recess the bottom of the drawer box up to allow for the drawer slides. We also are going to add dados to the sides and the fronts and the backs of the drawer box to allow for the bottom to be dadoed into it. We will then also have a full dado for the fronts and backs to be dadoed into the sides. So let's first take a look at Tools, then Settings, and we're going to take a look at the settings for a drawer box. A drawer box works in the settings works just the same way that any other cabinet is produced. So a drawer box is a box, just as a wall cabinet is a box. So we have no other options selected here other than the back dados. Now the one nuance with drawer boxes is that the naming could get a little confusing because the back of a drawer box is actually the bottom. The tops and the bottoms are actually the fronts and the backs of the drawer box. Hopefully you'll be able to pick this up when we enter this cabinet in. So now with the back dado selected, we're going to take a look at the option for back dados, or the values that are going to be applied. So right away we have a width of 3/8 of an inch cutting into the material into the sides by 3/8. We have an inset of 875. So that seems kind of large. We'll point that out and why that is when we see it on the nesting. And if you have made any changes, you would click Save. And close the settings and then just enter in one wall cabinet, or one drawer box that is 15 wide by 20 high, and 4.5 inches is going to be the overall height of the sides. And we'll just go ahead and put one in so we can see what we have, adding that to the list. We now have, which is the bottom, which again is tagged as a back. The sides are the sides. We could see that in the info sliding window there. Then the tops and the bottoms are actually the fronts and the backs. So the way this dado is going to work is we also have around the bottom of this a rectangle that is going to be used for rabbiting out the material to allow this 3/4 inch bottom to fit into this 3/8 dado. And the reason that we did a 7/8 inset is to allow for a total of 1/2 of an inch for that bottom to be recessed up into the sides there. So that is the reason for that. It might make it more clear if we just change the dado width here from 3/8 to 3/4. And we'll take a look at how to do that by closing Part Nester. We're going to go into the settings, then go back into the drawer box and change the setting for the width of that dado in the back dado settings, and we will make that width a total of 3/4 of an inch. We'll make the save to that and close the settings. We will also clear out the list because any settings change is not going to affect any cabinets or any boxes that are already entered into the list. So with that done, we'll add that to the list again and calculate and nest. This time we will see that we have a total of 3/4 inch wide dado for the bottom to fit into those sides. So the distance now from this bottom to the bottom side of that dado is going to be 1/2 of an inch. So that is how we create a drawer box with a dado on all 4 sides, front, back, and then the sides. The bottom will fit into that. We will now come back and take a look at how we could create a dado into the sides of this cabinet for dadoing in the fronts and backs into the sides. So we'll take a look at that now. And we only have the option to be able to do a full dado. There are workarounds that we could do, and we'll take a look at why that is in just a bit. So again, I'm going to go to File, New. Going to go to Tools, Settings. Use the drop down to select the drawer box. And now we are going to add blind dados. Then coming over to the blind dado button. And I do not want it to be a blind, so I'm just going to enter in a 0 value there. And the width of this, I'm going to make 3/4 of an inch. Again, that's going to give us a full dado. And for the depth is 3/8 of an inch. We could change that to whatever we would like. And go ahead and save. Closing the settings. We will add this box down to the list. We will now calculate nest. We will now have dados on the sides. This is the dado right here that is going to get dadoed out for the sides to fit into that dado. Now the reason that we only have the option for a full dado and not a blind dado or a rabbit dado, it's the how parts are going to be cut. So let's take a look at that real quick by closing and going File, New, and we will attempt to enter in, and it will actually allow us to do this because there is workarounds that we're able to apply to make this work. So for the blind dado option for a drawer box, we're going to come back in here and we'll give it a blind of 1 inch, and then the width of the dado, rather than 3/4, let's make that 3/8. We'll make a save, close the nesting, or close the settings. Our list is cleared. We will enter in a new drawer box and calculate nest. And we are getting a warning here that dadoing in the backs and the blind dado into the sides is going to create a flip operation. And that means that we're going to have to flip the board over to be able to machine this. And we're going to see this in the nesting. So it still allows us to calculate and nest this. I do not recommend flip operations, but there is secondary operations that we could do by using maybe a table saw to create these. So the reason that it is created a flip operation is the dado that is in the sides, that is this right here, that is 3/8 of an inch wide. It is inset 3/8 of an inch. So when this bottom or the front or the back fits into that, it is going to flush out there. So that means that the outside of this part needs to be face up. But to create the dado for the bottom to fit into, the inside of this part needs to be face up. So one dado needs to be cut on the opposite sides. The way that we could work around doing that is separating the layers. So currently we have all of the dados currently set on one layer. So we can't quite do it yet. So let's go ahead and close. I'm going to File, New, and we need to make another settings change to the drawer box. I'm going to make the setting change to the back dados. I'm going to come down and give it a new layer name, and we'll just call that, I'm just going to say not, and we'll see why. I'm going to go ahead and make that change, save that, and close the nest or the settings. Entering a new drawer box into the list and calculate. Again, we get that same warning, which is okay. It's just letting us know that we have to take a look at something. Now in the nesting, for the 3/4 inch dado for the bottom to fit into the sides, front and back, we have a new layer here that is called not. So I am going to, we would go through and set up the template, and unfortunately it does need to have a template set for this. And I click Save Template, but I did not have this option checked. So what this is going to be done is, since it is unchecked, when we click Save Toolpaths, the machine in the output in the G code is not going to be output to create those dados there. We could then take those over to a secondary operation. You could flip them over and cut them on the CNC, but then you have fixturing and alignment and a lot of other issues that go into flip operations. The quicker method there is set up a dado blade in your table saw or on a router table and just run those parts through, creating the dado for the bottoms to fit into. So that is one workaround to where and how we could create a, or get around having to do a flip operation and still be able to create those blind dados. But again, another option, and the option that I would recommend, is not doing blind dados if you are going to also dado in the bottoms into the fronts and the backs of the drawer box. That same logic applies to any cabinet or any box that is in this list. So again, we can come in and change the blind dado width from 3/8 to 0.75. And again, we did not get that warning, and that's because we've not created a situation that's going to produce a flip operation. So go File, New, add this to the list, and calculate and nest. So this situation that we still have the blind set in there for 1 inch. It's definitely a possibility to create a box in this situation. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but certainly could do it. It is still going to be and appear to be an unseen dado from the top, and especially after you put the front on the drawer front on the cabinet, you will not see that. So again, that setting was found under Settings, selecting the drawer box, the blind dado, and that is this blind right here. Setting that to 0 is going to give us a full width dado across the whole entire side of that drawer box. So File, New, and add that to the cabinet. Now those settings that are being used here are also being applied to when we enter in a base cabinet or a drawer base cabinet. So when we have the options set to include drawer boxes with our cabinets, the drawer box settings that we just went through are going to be applied to that cabinet or to the drawer boxes that are for that particular cabinet. So setting up to include drawer boxes with a cabinet as they are calculated in for a base cabinet. That is the option down here to also include drawer boxes. And again, that is going to follow the settings that we have here for this drawer box. So just go File, New, and when we enter in for a base cabinet, we now have the options set to do a drawer box or include drawer boxes. So we are going to go with a 15 wide cabinet, 34.5 inches high, by 24 inches deep and a quantity of 1. Add that to our cabinet list. Then we will calculate and nest. We will now have our drawer boxes included, or it's only one drawer box that's being included here with the settings that we had just gone through for that particular cabinet. Hopefully that was useful, and if you have any questions, leave some notes in the comments or send me an email and we could chat about it.